Welcome to Personal Revolution. Today we're diving into a story that will inspire you to break free from the chains that hold you back and rebuild yourself into the person you were always meant to be. This isn't just about motivation, it's about transformation. This is the story of James. James was once a driven and passionate young man, full of ambition and dreams. He wanted to make a difference in the world, to leave his mark. But life didn't go as planned. After graduating, he took a job he thought would be temporary, just a stepping stone. Days turned into weeks, weeks into years. His dreams faded into the background as he became trapped in the grind of daily life, overwhelmed by responsibilities and the fear of failure. James wasn't alone in this struggle. Many of us start with big dreams, only to find ourselves stuck in the quicksand of comfort and complacency. It's a common story, but that doesn't make it any less painful. Every day felt like a battle for James, a battle he was losing against his own doubts and fears. The breaking point. One day, everything changed. James woke up feeling more exhausted than usual. It wasn't just physical tiredness, it was the kind of exhaustion that seeps into your soul. He looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. The passion in his eyes was gone, replaced by a hollow resignation. That day at work, he found himself staring blankly at his computer screen, unable to muster the energy to do even the simplest tasks. His boss noticed and asked if everything was okay. It was a simple question, but it hit him hard. Was everything okay? He realized in that moment that he was existing, not living. He had become a shadow of his former self, buried under the weight of unfulfilled dreams and lost potential. That evening, alone in his apartment, he made a decision. He was done living like this. He was done being a prisoner of his own mind. It was time to change, to rebuild. The first step: acknowledging the problem. The first step in James's journey was the hardest: acknowledging the problem. He had to confront the fact that he was stuck, that he was his own worst enemy. This wasn't easy. It's always easier to blame external circumstances, to say that life is just unfair. But deep down, he knew that if he wanted to change his life, he had to start with himself. He began to examine his thoughts and behaviors. He realized that he had been sabotaging himself with negative self-talk and limiting beliefs. "I'm not good enough, it's too late for me, I'll never succeed." These were the mantras that played on repeat in his mind. He understood that these thoughts were holding him back more than any external obstacle ever could. The inner battle. Changing these deeply ingrained patterns wasn't easy. Every day felt like a battle between the person he was and the person he wanted to be. There were days when he wanted to give up, when the old habits seemed too powerful to break. But he knew that this was a battle worth fighting. He started small, making tiny changes in his daily routine. He woke up earlier, spent time meditating, and wrote down his thoughts. He began to exercise, not just to get in shape, but to build discipline and mental toughness. Each small victory gave him the strength to keep going, to keep pushing. One of the most challenging aspects of this inner battle was learning to let go of the past. James had a lot of regrets, a lot of what-ifs that haunted him. What if he had taken more risks? What if he had pursued his dreams earlier? These thoughts weighed him down like anchors, keeping him stuck in the past. But he realized that holding on to these regrets was only hurting him. He couldn't change the past, but he could change his response to it. He began to forgive himself for his mistakes and to see them as lessons rather than failures. This shift in perspective was crucial. It allowed him to release the past and focus on the present and the future. The external struggle. As James started to conquer his inner demons, he faced a new challenge: the external struggle. He knew that to rebuild his life, he had to step out of his comfort zone and take bold actions. This was terrifying. It's one thing to change your thoughts, but another to change your actions, to face the fear of rejection and failure head on. James made a list of all the things he had been avoiding, all the actions he had been too afraid to take. It was a long list. At the top was starting his own business, a dream he had buried years ago. He decided to start small, researching and planning in his spare time. But soon he realized that if he wanted to truly commit, he had to take a leap of faith. He quit his job. It was a reckless move, and everyone around him thought he was crazy. But James knew that he had to do it. He had to burn his bridges, to put himself in a position where there was no turning back. He faced a lot of challenges, financial difficulties, self-doubt, the pressure of expectations. But he kept going. Every setback was a lesson, every failure a stepping stone. He learned to embrace the struggle, to see it as part of the process rather than a sign that he was on the wrong path. He started to build resilience, a strength that came not from avoiding difficulties, but from facing them head-on. The turning point. After months of hard work and perseverance, something incredible happened. James's business started to take off. It wasn't an overnight success, but there was a steady, tangible progress. He began to see the fruits of his labor, to feel the satisfaction of creating something from nothing. More importantly, he started to regain his confidence. He realized that he was capable of so much more than he had ever given himself credit for. But the real turning point wasn't the success of his business. It was the realization that he had already succeeded long before the external validation came. He had succeeded in conquering himself, in overcoming his fears and doubts. He had succeeded in rebuilding his life from the ground up, not because of the money he made or the accolades he received, but because he had become the person he always knew he could be. The message: rebuild yourself. James's story is not unique. Many of us find ourselves trapped in situations that seem impossible to escape, held back by fears and doubts that feel insurmountable. But the truth is, we all have the power to change, to rebuild ourselves from the inside out. It's not easy, and it doesn't happen overnight. It requires courage, discipline, and a relentless commitment to growth. But it is possible. No matter how stuck you feel, no matter how many mistakes you've made, you can change. You can change. You can rebuild. The first step is to conquer yourself, to take control of your thoughts and your actions. Once you do that, the possibilities are limitless. Remember, the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the story you're telling yourself. Change that story, and you change everything. You have the power to conquer yourself, to rebuild your life. The journey won't be easy, but it will be worth it. Thank you for joining me on Personal Revolution. If James's story resonated with you, remember, it's never too late to start your own journey. The first step is the hardest, but once you take it, you'll never look back. Keep pushing, keep growing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. You've got this.